Sorry for taking you to the conclusion before I take you to the beginning of the matter. Yes, so you are most welcome. It's a joy to fellowship with you tonight. And today we are looking at managing virtual work and family. And I am so blessed to be invited to be sharing with you on this topic. When we think about virtual work, when we think about the things that we do, when we think about work in this day and age, I know that different people will share different experiences, but I will define today virtual or remote work as any work that involves computer and diverse telecommunication solutions that allow for remote accessibility, as in you are using technology to work or to give a service, but you're not actually in the physical space of the people that you are serving. So today, basically, we are going to have a look at the new boundaries of work, but also as we redefine the boundaries of work, there is caution that we must manage it well. Otherwise, one thing will suffer. If it is not the work, it is the home that has now turned into office. And like I earlier said, I'll be sharing from my own practical experience as a remote worker, and I hope that we can learn a lesson or two. For those that are joining in for the first time, as I was introduced, I am Prim, Tumuramye, and I work with Compassion International as a communication specialist, and I am remotely based, meaning I work from home most of the time, and our mission at Compassion is to release children from poverty in the name of Jesus. And I am so happy to be part of that movement of child advocates that seek to transform the lives of children that are living in need to the glory of God. Yeah. So when we talk about the virtual workspace, like I already mentioned, the issue of where the work is happening is very, very important. So the concept of virtual work has transitioned from a futuristic notion to a daily reality for millions of people. And now we are talking about globally. Maybe in the past it was a dream, or we could hear about one or two people that we know that are working from one place and serving a different place. But today, increasingly, it is moving from that future dream, that's something that we saw that was very far from us, to something that lives with us today, that people can actually work and serve, but they are not physically based in the areas or within the physical spaces of the clients that they are serving. How and where we work has changed dramatically. I mean, I am trying to bring you into the virtual workspace, so that even as we talk about how we manage the virtual work environment and family, we know what exactly we are talking about. And the how is what I have already talked about, that someone can actually sit with their gadget and they are able to work. The where is also very important, and we are saying is dramatically or drastically changing, that someone does not have to be in their physical office with a physical boss seated in a corner to understand or appreciate that they are actually working, that you can be in different geographical locations, even in different countries, and yet you are able to work as an employee, you are able to be supervised or to supervise as a supervisor, and work is actually happening. How? We are saying through the use of technology, where meaning that people are differently located, and that is why we call it virtual or remote. If you are still struggling to understand it, think about how you are able to be in this church today at this particular hour, but yet you are not physically with the preacher, and you are able to partake of the message, and you are able to learn, to concentrate, to even get transformation, to have a tangible experience within your life, and yet you are actually not in the same physical space. Same concept. In Uganda and most of different places in the world, the drastic change was even reinforced further by the COVID pandemic, where people had to rethink work. The virtual workspaces are being supported by technology, as I already mentioned, innovation, creativity, and increasingly they are being desired by people. That if someone had a choice to make of whether to go and work in a physical space environment and to work from where they are, they would choose working from where they are rather than going to that physical place, because there are so many advantages that are related to this. And what do statistics and facts currently say? And I drew this from Small Business Statistics and Facts, the 2024 edition. 73% of departments are expected to have remote workers by 2028. And if I am talking to people in the marketplace, I mean, where does this leave you? If there is going to be a transition, it might not be spearheaded by you. Maybe the employers, because I already mentioned that there are advantages to this. If the employer is going to say 73% of the departments are going to be remote workers, are you ready? Most of our children, for those that have children or are connected to children, are in school. How are we preparing them for that time and the reality that is going to be there? So even as we go through this, I do not want you to begin thinking that, well, as for me, you see, I work from a physical work environment. We are still conservative. I don't see us changing. So this, let it pass. This information is not for me. It is for all of us, because all these dynamics will change us in one way or another, because we are a whole ecosystem that deals with each other. The way I work and where I work definitely is going to affect my circles, whether the inner circle at home or even the outer circle, because they will need to understand the dynamics so that we are able to do life together without pulling ropes, without being misunderstood, because that is the new normal that we are dealing with or we are working with. So if statistics are indicating that 73% of departments are expected to have remote workers by the year 2028, which is not very far from now. If you think 2028 is very far from us, for those of us that are residing in Uganda, 2026 we are going to the polls. So I mean, 2 years after that, we will continue to see a drastic change in the employment world, in the marketplace. How prepared are you going to be found with that change if it comes to where you are at? 86% of workers feel that remote work reduces stress, and I can attest to that. When I worked in a physical office based in Kampala, and when I moved to Kampala, I was moving, transitioning from where I was serving at Uganda Christian University, and I live about 7-10 minutes drive away from the university. You can imagine the culture shock that I had to deal with our Ugandan traffic. The time for waking up, I mean, every dynamic around me had to change. The time for waking up, the time for going to work, the time I returned home with little children. I mean, the level of stress, if you use our routes, if you live in Mukono and beyond, going to the eastern direction, you know that the traffic dynamics there, about 2 hours every day that you have to budget for as you go to work, as you come back to work, depending on what time you leave. I mean, it is extremely stressing. So when the 86% of workers say that they feel that remote work reduces stress, I can say without any fear of contradiction that if I was to answer such a survey, I would be among the 86%. Because then I do not have to think about all those things. I remember there is a season there were a lot of accidents, and each time, I don't know whether it was by coincidence or what, but each time I reached around Boyogerere, I would find a border accident. And it started affecting my mental well-being. I lived in fear of encountering an accident, of being part of the accident, because that is what I would see literally every morning. You would find that either a border has knocked or they are knocking someone. Oh my God, I mean, that's the external factors of stress themselves. But I have had times when I am going to town, and if it has rained, whether you're using public means or private means, it is a total disaster. When some parts of the road are flooding, and then you have to stop, and then later in the night when you're watching news, you learn that where you actually were, maybe a border was swept off with their passenger, or a child, or a woman who didn't know that a pothole had been covered by water, or an open space, and they disappeared there in extreme stress. I am talking in the context for those who work within the city. For those that work elsewhere, I mean, you know the stressors that you go through as you commute to and from work. If you are even working much further, maybe from one district to another, you're living separately as a couple, it even gets worse. Companies that embrace remote work have 25% less employee turnover than those who do not. And why? It is why we just talked about, that the level of stress for a virtual worker is slightly lower than the person that has to add the daily stresses of life and top up with the management of going to work, especially if they are not very well-defined transport systems in the areas where they are serving. There's a time I had to work in a district. I won't mention the place, but our only means of transport was moving by pickup, and that pickup would have sheep, would have goats, would have, it was the only means for everyone and everything. And when I remember the year I spent in that place, I do not even know how I found motivation to serve, because I remember that was one of the most fulfilling times of my career life. But the mode of transport was extremely hard. So I imagine if I had not to travel, probably I would still even be there, because minus that, the level of satisfaction was extremely high. So when again they say 25% less employee turnover, I can understand, and I would say if I had that survey to fill, I would still be part of that survey to say, yes, I would stay. Working from home and remote locations has grown 159% since 2005, more than 11 times faster than the rest of the workforce. And I know that from 2020, we have seen it, even in what we would perceive ideally as the third world countries. It has come closer, it has come to us. That is why we have a church that has gone even beyond the COVID times, because someone would say, no, they were meeting virtually for convenience because they had no option. How many years post-COVID, and we are still growing stronger as the online church body of Christ. And 37% of remote employees would take a 10% pay cut to continue working from home. What does this mean? That if I had a choice again to make, and I have a job where I need to go and work away from home or commute every day, and I have an option to stay in my current role, even at a less pay, or if I am not working from home and I have a job offer that could allow me to work from home, it means that even if they paid me less, I would willingly take up the offer than stay in the place where I have to do the commuting. I hope we understand that. And again, when they talk about the 37%, as a primary experiencer of both worlds, again, I say that even my personal opinions would align to this. So I want to share my story regarding working from home and my experiences and how we can pick a few lessons. And I'm not saying that I am the expert or the yardstick, but I just want to share things that I have found very helpful in trying to strike a positive balance between work and family as someone that is based at home, as I serve in my responsibility at work. And this is who I am in that direction. I am a full-time Christian, I am a wife, and I am a mother. And I did not add "and others" because I did not want anyone to take offense to be in the category of the "and others." But yes, I am a full-time friend, I am a full-time daughter, I am a full-time sister, I am a full-time different things, because we never take leave from all those things. So apart from being a full-time Christian, a full-time wife, a full-time mother, like those ones have really top deliverables that I must stay aligned to. Come rain, come sunshine. I can be your part-time friend, but I can never be a part-time mother to the children God has blessed us with. I cannot be a part-time wife. I cannot be a part-time Christian. For those three, for me, they are critical. They are non-negotiable. And that's why I chose to call them out. And why am I calling them out? So that you again do not begin to think that maybe some people have more time than others, or they have less demands than others. No, we all have same demands from life, depending on where we are. I mean, if you're a daughter to someone, you're going to be a full-time daughter. If you're a husband, if you're a wife, if you're a child, you're going to be full-time into that capacity. I am a communications practitioner, like I said. I must add that I support 10 countries in Africa, East Africa, West Africa, and 2 in the southern part of Africa. And I'm based in Mukono, Nabuti in Uganda. And I transitioned to remote work in July 2021. So I am 3 years and a few months old into that space. And I work from home with at least 5% travel requirement. Yeah, so sometimes I will be required to travel as part of my work, but basically really the 95% is that you will typically find me at home doing my work on a daily basis. What are the lessons that I have learned? What is it that we can do to borrow as we serve? How do we manage the space between working at home and working and being family members? And I have seen people who have said, oh, I want to come and meet you at your office, and I'm telling them, okay, my office is at home, this is the address, please come and we meet. And they're like, what? So how do you even work from home? Do you actually wake up? I mean, how do you separate being a worker and then being at home? And these are the lessons that I have learned. One, we will have a quick reflection on Colossians 3, verse 23. And what does it say? Colossians chapter 3, verse 23. And this is what Colossians 3:23 says, that whatever you do, whether you're working from home, whether you're working from an office, whether you're working from a market, I mean, whether you're working from the air or on the water, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for men. When you go to verse 24, it says, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward, it is the Lord Christ you are serving. And for me, that is the blueprint. That is the principle. I work as though I am working for the Lord. I serve the boss of my boss. So it is not about my boss knowing whether I am working or not. It is about the boss of my boss knowing and acknowledging that I am working. I am earning the money that I should be earning fairly. I am not cheating on anyone. I am not forging deliverables. I mean, my boss does not have to be there to wake me up. They don't have to see that I have come to my desk without taking a shower. I mean, I know that even when my boss is very many miles away from seeing me, my boss lives and resides in the US. I mean, I know at the end of the day that the boss of my boss, and the boss of my boss is God. He's also my boss. And for me, that is the baseline. That as long as I know who I am serving, it does not matter whether I am working from a physical office. Give me a job in a physical office, I will do it with all my heart to the best of my ability. Do I fail? Yes. Do I sometimes miss deadlines? Of course. Do I sometimes procrastinate on tasks? Yes, very many times. But at the end of the day, and at the back of my mind, really, for me, the main push is that I know whom I am serving. And it is because of that even when I am not going to be seen, by the way, at zero chances, I am not going to be seen, whether I have sat on my desk or I am chilling in the bed and typing on the computer. I mean, God will be taking note that today she has cheated her employer 100%. Today, she has given in 10%. Tomorrow, she's giving in 120%. So for me, that baseline is very important. Are you working from home? Are you a remote worker? I pray that the Lord will remind you who you are working for. The moment you know who you are working for, then you will not struggle in the issue of the temptations at home are so big. Yes, they are there, but as long as you know who you're serving, I mean, then the lines are drawn and they are very clear. They do not become blurry at all. You know what you're supposed to be doing at what time. What is it that is helping me again to manage functional frameworks for my family context? And when I talk about this, I am meaning boundaries. When I started working from home, now I am talking about the real transition to be permanently at home was when our firstborn was 9. But when I actually started working from home, all of us, again, as an organization, I think it was 2020. So my firstborn was 8. The youngest, I think, was about 5 or thereabout. And I mean, we had to sit and agree on a framework that would work. To understand that home is home, but also part of home, there is a segment of office. And we need to respect the boundaries of home. We need to respect the boundaries of family. And again, I've seen people with young children say, I cannot work from home because of the children. And I keep telling them, if you cannot work from home because of the children, you're not becoming a problem for yourself, you're also becoming a problem for your children. Because these children should understand the concept of boundaries, to know that this is time for this is time for the other. And for me, that is, and I mean, I know someone would say, oh, it depends on the age of the children. Like I've said, my oldest at the beginning was at the age of 8. The youngest was 5. And we had to agree to understand that home is home and that is not going to change. But within home, we have now incorporated the aspect of office. And we must respect office because it is office that brings the bread that we eat on the table. And so we had to come to that understanding. And the children have been very supportive in that regard, to know that when it is time for working, we just need to orient our minds to think that mommy has actually gone to office like any other person goes to office. So I will not have random banging of doors, running into the meetings and throwing tantrums and all those things, because the boundaries have been drawn. And my encouragement in this is that please begin to teach the children the boundaries now, because when you remember that statistic that points to 2028, maybe let's round off to the nearest and say by 2030, if that is the work environment, the reality of the work environment they are going to grow up into, then why don't we allow to train them even now, so that when they are getting into that space, they are already trained as global employees, as global marketplace servants, that they are able to fit in that framework because they have seen it lived out in their home or in their family contexts. Well, I have also established workable routines, and I'll share a glimpse into my day. So before I go to sleep, I check my calendar to know what is tomorrow going to be like. If I have an early morning meeting, that will determine the time I wake up. Like I said, I work with diverse teams that are scattered across the globe with different time zones. So if I have late night meetings, which are not usually a routine, once in a while I will have awkward hour meetings that are late in my own time zone because of that context that I've talked about. But usually my meetings go up to slightly late evening. So when people in the Ugandan offices are leaving, Maybe I am in the middle of my real active meetings, because people from across the other zones are also just entering into their day. So I do not have a standard time of waking up. So depending on what my day is going to be like, either I am going to have an extended morning or a very early morning. And for me, that prepares me to know, to go to bed knowing that tomorrow I'm actually waking up at this time. My day is going to be like this. I have multiple meetings. I have back-to-back meetings. So how do I prepare, even emotionally? How will I show up? What am I going to put on? I have a friend who would usually visit me, and because I would have given her a time to come when I'm either in a break or during my lunchtime. And when she would come, she would be like, my goodness, you're so smart, and yet you're at home. And I'm like, yes, I am so smart because I am working. I am in my office. I have to respect my office, but also to respect myself and to respect the people that I am showing up for. So the routines have helped me to have the balance. The other thing is keeping my home office as an office. So the office has a door, the office has a lock. So when I leave office after this meeting, for example, I will lock the office because it is office. If it is not a working day, you'll not find me in that office. If I take leave, like the last 1.5 weeks, I was on leave. I mean, I never stepped in that office at all, not even to peep or do anything. So office is office, home is home. Of course, they are all under the same roof, but yes, to say that I keep the office as office, again, I also mean that, for example, my children, even when I have not locked with a key, know that they are not supposed to go to my office and they are playing from there. It is not a play area. They actually, one of my sons had put up a placard that please do not tamper with any property in this office. This is compassion property, because they have that understanding to know that there is an office at home. So our boundaries of the home are bedroom A, B, C, room X, Y, Z. But when we come to office, it is not necessarily stuff that we should go in and play with, because they are sensitive things which are in that office. There is a laptop, there is all these things that are not necessarily ours, that are there to serve the work of the employer, because they know that my employer is not their father's entity, and there is that understanding. Yeah, so I respect the office, and there is that clear boundary. Helping my circles to understand my work context. Like I've said, I have friends, and it has been work in progress. Friends, relatives who will come and they will know that I am at home. And they will be told, we are sorry, you cannot even see her. Why? Because either she's in a meeting or she's engaged. So yes, I am physically at home, but that time is not my time. It would just be like if you came to a physical office at my employer's workplace and I am in a meeting and you're demanding that I get out. Unless it is absolutely important, then I will not get out. And so my circles understand that. Like I said, my primary constituency is the children. And probably that would be the biggest worry. But even when a visitor comes, they will not lie. They will not say, oh, mommy is not around. No. They will say, our mother is around, but you are not able to see her. You can leave a message. Why? Because she is in a meeting or she is working. Our house help knows when I am available, when I am not. She knows when she can interrupt. She knows when she cannot interrupt. Maybe she'll come and drop me a note and I will write back and she will read, and then we will have ways of conveniently communicating without abusing that space. And using technology to remain organized. I use the Outlook calendar. Like I've said, before I close out for the day, I need to have an understanding of what my tomorrow is going to be like, so that I am prepared, both in terms of deliverables, but also in terms of the emotional well-being. If I'm going to have 5 meetings on Zoom, how much sleep do I need for the night? When will I need to take a nap? When will I need to, plan other things surrounding my life? If children are going to be dropped at home and maybe the father is not able to, who can we work with? If someone was expecting me in a place, so that I am not disrupted or I am not disorganized and having things fall here and there because I did not know what my day would look like in terms of work. I am helped by reminders a lot. Yeah, so if I have meetings, I set up reminders. If I am going to sleep and I need to wake up at a particular hour to attend a meeting, I will put in an alarm. If I am going for leave, like I said, the last 1.5 weeks I was on leave, I put in automated responses. So when you send me an email, you will immediately get an email that tells you, I am sorry, I am on leave, I am not able to see your email. I will only see your email on this date when I return, so that I manage your expectations on your end, but also then I am guarding my space, because then you do not have to call me, have you seen my email? Because my email has already responded to you, and that helps, of course, in guarding me from being torn apart here and there, and thus I am able to serve my family and to live a balanced life. I will continue with the things that I am doing that we can pick lessons from, even as we prepare ourselves for the work. I don't want to call it the work environment of tomorrow. It is the work environment of today. That is the reality. So like I said, that is my small office. Very tiny, but very sufficient for me. And I respect it. I go to it when I am supposed to be working. And when I'm not supposed to be working, then I will step out to other spaces, to the kitchen, to the sitting room, to the dining, to other spaces other than the office. Because I know that the other struggle that I've had people talk about is not managing their ability to know that work starts here and work ends here. So what am I doing and continue to grow in that space is to have clear lines of when work ends and it should have been when work begins and when work stops. So if I am finishing my work at 5, I will shut down, like I've said, lock the office and step out, and that will be it. Being mindful about the physical well-being. Of course, again, when you work from home, the temptation is that the assignment that you would have finished next week, you want to finish it today. For if your work is supposed to be ending at 5, you're thinking, well, since I'm not going to travel, since I'm already at home, I can go for an hour or 2. That again, you need to remain alert to that fact. So when it is meal time, I will walk to the dining hall and I will eat from there. I will have walked from office to go to where the meal is, rather than pick the food and come and eat from where I am working from. I will take walks in the compounds. If I am in a meeting and they announce a break, I will take a break, maybe go and make a telephone call, go and walk a bit, go and drink water. Yeah, keeping mindful that I need to move out. Keeping connected. Again, when you work from home, then that means that most likely you're going to disappear from the world. So yeah, getting out of your shell to make calls, to chat with people. If there is opportunity for physical meetings, showing up and being present, and that's what I do. Once in a while, I change my workspace, and for example, if I know that there is open space at UCU, which I said is my neighbor, if I am not going to present or do anything and I'm just going to be a passive participant in the office, I could say, let me carry my gadget and maybe go and sit in the beautiful green of UCU and attend this meeting. And as I sit there, after the meeting, as I walk back home, I'm going to meet people, I'm going to greet people at lunchtime, I'm going to go to the canteen and eat, just to keep physically connected to the people. It must be intentional. When there's opportunity to meet with my workmates, colleagues in Uganda, I want to happily engage, because it is to my advantage that I am not left into my own cocoon without physical connection with physical people, because they are also important. I also have a shared calendar with my family members, because different seasons will require different requirements. This past quarter has been very hectic for me in terms of travel. I had back-to-back travels. So when those travels come, they are not shockers to my family. For as much as I know when I am going to travel, it is all laid out in my calendar. I have a desk calendar, so I write all those things for my children especially. So they know that if you want to know mommy's schedule, because for them, then they do not have the technology, they are not connected to the technology. Then they know that when we come to mommy's calendar, everything is there in their VDs for the particular month, my travels, if I have a wedding, if I have a fellowship I need to attend, they will come and then they will know that, oh, mommy on this date will not be available. So if we had a program, if we wanted to do this, it is not going to be possible because the calendar is shared, both the physical but also the digital one. I can send my husband an email. I can take a screenshot and say, this is how my week is going to be like. So please, you're not going to be getting me during the day. At this hour, I have a meeting. And he also does the same. I'm going to attend Senate. I'm going to attend this. So then I know that when he's attending a meeting, I'm not going to be nagging with calls. Maybe I can send a text and it has to be absolutely necessary. Yeah, so we have multiple channels of communication. Yeah, sometimes I will send my husband an email. If I remember something and I'm very busy, I'll just send an email because I know that that is his work environment. Maybe he'll check his mail and be able to see it. Or I can send a WhatsApp or something. Yeah, so the shared calendar is extremely helpful to bring in the family, but also to manage expectations. For example, my children will know that on this VD, maybe mommy will not be available. And then we discuss to know that daddy will come and other family members that are available. When I return, we will organize a special day and work with the school. Then I will come and visit you and pray with you and check on your progress. And that is understandable. So we don't have cases of children crying at school, throwing tantrums, oh, why has this one not come? Because they already know what the schedule is like. Seek and accept support. I already talked about children, school visits, family moments. Our anniversary this year was going to fall on a day that I would not be at home, not even be in the country. So we had our anniversary moment before the actual date came. Finding opportunity in work assignment. So if I have work, rather than complain and be grumpy, oh, now this work, it is taking me away from family. I mean, for me, I find every moment to reconnect with old friends, to read a book, to just rest if I have had a busy time. So for me, work becomes enjoyable, whether I am home or away from home, because it is all integrated in one thing. So if you can get support, please get it, find it. On Wednesday, when our son was coming from Barara, I just called a very dear friend of ours to say, do I need to come to Kampala to pick the child, or you have worked and you can connect with the boy and you come with him to Mukono? And by the grace of God, he was in Kampala at the right time. The boy was also arriving and they connected. And for me, that was support because I had also just traveled. And my husband has not been very well, so driving to Kampala is not something that he can easily do without straining his health. So that is support that we seek. Sometimes, like I said, he studies from Barara. Sometimes we are not able to travel, but then we work out with the teachers. Can we send so and so? So when I come, I will be available in this weekend. When I come, can I have a day with my son? And the school is gracious. They will write for him a note to leave school, and we can go out maybe in a hotel, sit and talk, have a meal together. I take him back to school, and our VD is done. So when other parents have visited or are going to visit, he doesn't have to be frowning and saying, oh, my parents are not here. He understands because there is support that is around us. And for each one of us, we are a family. There is always support. Plan. And when I talk about plan, I know that sometimes we want to do things as they come. Last week when I returned from leave, the first thing I did was to look at my calendar for 2025 and said, if God allows me to walk into the new year, this is how I would want my year to look like. So I already have predetermined days of leave. For me, my choice of days of leave is when children go for holiday, because I mean, it doesn't add sense or make sense for me to be on leave and I am just home alone. So we try to align our family leave dates together where possible. Where it is not possible, at least one of us is there to stand in the gap. So for me, as a constant, every holiday, I must get 1.5 weeks minimum as my leave, as part of the benefits that I get from work, to be with the children, to be at home, and I am not working and I'm just connecting with the children. We are preparing for the next term. They're able to speak into their shopping, to go with them in the market so that they experience the hustle of carrying the rims, buying the brooms. I mean, to understand what they need to prepare for. And we have seen that also help in the way they value their property, because they understand the hassles of going through getting the different things. You park in one place, you are moving from one shop to another, you are carrying different things to one central place, and that has been helpful. So if you determine the seasons of your annual leave, if you determine how you're going to take or make use of your times together, it becomes extremely very helpful. And I've said that for me, who is always at home, but sometimes at home and it seems like I am not there, my intentionality is on which days I will choose to be off, and that is when the children are on holiday, and then we will be able to connect and do life together. Build trust, and I say the virtual world trade currency is trust. Like I said, one, I know that I am not serving necessarily my boss, I am serving the boss of my boss, but also the boss, my boss now in the worldly sense will only know that I am working if we have built trust. But if at every meeting I am not showing up, if every meeting I have excuses, oh, you see, I didn't do this because of this, oh, now power went off, I mean, I need, because now for me, home is my office, I shouldn't be taken by surprise that, oh, your car is off. No, I mean, I need to constantly check the meter, because I know that I can only work when I have power. If power is not behaving, and sometimes that is an external factor, what is it that I can do? Can I go to a hotel and maybe buy coffee and sit there and work from there? Can I go to our physical office and work from there? Why? Because I do not want to break the trust. I do not want my leader to get to a place where they are thinking, are they actually working or they are not? If I am saying I am at home, and that is why I intentionally kept my video on, because this is a habit that I have built, that I am not going to switch off my camera and then I am saying, oh, network, are you hearing me? No, if it is a genuine problem for network, my leader will not even have a shadow of doubt, because she knows that if I am there, I am there with the evidence of my video. If network is struggling, she will not say, oh, maybe today she's in the garden or in the market and she's just using network as a hustle. So if you can't be trusted, then you're not going to manage the ecosystem in the virtual work environment. Please show up prepared, or at least have a backup plan for the rainy day. And like I've said, some of our rainy days are power cuts, all those things, but make sure that you have a backup plan. Do you have good lighting? Do you have a phone, for example? So when I charge my laptop, I also make sure that my phone is charged, so that just in case of emergency, if I can't work using my laptop, maybe the phone is going to be my plan B. But you cannot keep operating on plan B all the time as though plan A is constantly down. And I know that in our country's context, sometimes we behave like we are always doing life of plan B. We are always in crisis management other than being prepared. But that's not a habit I would recommend for anyone that would want to live well as they serve in the virtual work environment and they are happily enjoying their family life moments. How do I want to conclude? I want to say that the virtual reality will remain our new normal. Don't deceive yourself that this is going to change. It is going to increasingly become the new normal. Are you ready to adopt? If you are not, I want to encourage you that there are opportunities of practice. I mean, I am not where I was in 2020. There are valuable lessons that I have learned. There are improvements that I have made. There are things that I continue to learn along this journey. But for me, one of the opportunities that I took advantage of, one of the opportunities that I took, that helped my children have a bigger and broader understanding of the virtual world is the online church of Uganda. And I want to end by empowering you that this is a good internship place. But I see most of us do not want to use it. Uncle Bob introduced me as the mother of the breasted band. And how did the breasted band get birthed? I would see appeals, we need children, because they would be leading every Monday, as still is the practice. And I said, but I have children here who are idle, they are not doing anything. They are believers. I mean, if this is a ministry opportunity, let them jump on board. And that was a non-negotiable. Again, if you have debates with your children on what they can do and what they cannot do, our framework at home is that we have negotiables and non-negotiables, and your spiritual well-being is a non-negotiable as long as you're still under our roof. So we said, if you profess and tell us that you are believers, then you're going to exhibit your faith through responding to this call, because people cannot be pleading for children and you're here and you're doing nothing. You're going to respond and take part in these services. And during COVID, because we had a home church, they had already formed their band, they had already named it, and they jumped on board. And they would lead, they would take readings, and each time we would go back to YouTube and show them. So now, do you see this video? This is when you were leading. Do you know that now you have no control over it? It is no longer yours. How you show up matters. So then they learned. I mean, they can tell you, oh, please don't go into areas on Zoom which you do not know. You could invite hackers. They learned the basics. They learned etiquette. Each time they had opportunity to lead, you would see them run to bathe, show up in their best clothes. Why? Because they're saying, no. It is not just the 30 people we are going to be seeing online. People are going to be seeing us even after this meeting. We want to show up and show up well. Yeah, so let us use the opportunity that we have. And there are countless opportunities. At least I am part of leadership, and I know that we make appeals for people to come and participate. I mean, start by taking a reading, start by singing, start by being the moderator. And as you gain skills, when you go to your next interview and they're asking you, do you have experience of serving in the virtual world? Just tell them, you follow this link. Or even as you apply, just tell them, here are links of my ability to serve in a virtual or remote environment using or maximizing the opportunity of technology. And then you'll take them to the YouTube that you have not even paid for, because Online Church of Uganda is already paying for that space. God is giving you blessings, but sometimes we want, I don't know which kinds of miracles, but this is a miracle that is right in our midst that we can take advantage of, grow our strength, grow together, be open to feedback, and then we will see how we increasingly take opportunities as global digital evangelists, as global marketplace influencers, because that is what God has called us to be. That we are not going to limit the miracles that we can expect God to do for us. That you can believe that God can actually appoint you and raise you in Uganda, in a humble village of Nabuti, and you're serving people that are living as far from you as people in Malawi, as people in Zambia, as people in Burkina Faso. With those many words, I pray that the Lord may bless you, and I hope that we have learned a lesson or two on one, how we can prepare, because that is the new normal that we are going to continue living in, or adjust, or set ourselves kwetega in the Christian way for better opportunities, because we must go and influence for the kingdom. The days of saying, I am an influencer in Mitoma, I am just influencing those of Buhweju, are over. God has broken the territorial boundaries. He's inviting us to go and serve. And when I said I am a full-time Christian, I mean, I know that I might never have the chance or the opportunity to be ordained as a priest, but in my marketplace, I can be a pastor of my team. I can be a pastor of my colleagues. And my colleagues do not have to be just limited to those who are living in Mukono. God is giving us an opportunity to have colleagues world over. And what a joy of living out the Great Commission if we responded, if we prepared ourselves and set ourselves up to be Christian influencers in the marketplace beyond our borders. May God bless you.
Wonderful. God bless you too, Prim. That was so nice, so wonderful. What a time we've had. Really, despite the fact of being in a virtual working environment for a long time, I've learned a lot personally. And I'm sure